Elijah Carter had spent years living in the shadows, a ghost of a man who once stood at the pinnacle of lethality. America's deadliest operative had walked away from his past, choosing anonymity over recognition, peace over violence. But some weapons were never meant to be abandoned. When Officer Travis Boone and his corrupt squad made their fatal mistake, humiliating a man they thought was just another homeless vagrant, Elijah Carter awoke from his self-imposed exile. The predator within him stirred, and as bodies began to fall and an empire of crime burned, the world realized Elijah Carter hadn't been hiding from them. He had been hiding the world from himself. Rain poured in thick, unrelenting sheets, transforming the city into a mirror of neon reflections and liquid shadows. Water drummed against the pavement, carrying away cigarette butts and discarded dreams into the sewers below. Huddled beneath the faded awning of Jerry's 24-hour diner, Elijah Carter sat motionless, a paper cup of coffee long since gone cold in his hands. The night manager had given it to him, whether out of pity or an instinctive sense of fear, Elijah didn't know. His tattered military jacket draped loosely over his broad shoulders, the insignias long removed, but the disciplined posture was impossible to erase. Years of training had conditioned him to register every movement in his periphery. The nervous woman clutching her purse as she hurried past, the man checking over his shoulder 3 times in the span of a minute, the teenage couple sharing an umbrella, oblivious to the world beyond their laughter. Every detail was processed, categorized, filed away. Old habits died hard. A flash of headlights swept across the rain-slicked pavement, and Elijah's fingers twitched instinctively. A patrol car rolled to a stop in front of the diner, its red and blue lights staying dark, but its presence shifting the atmosphere. Elijah didn't move. He didn't even blink as the doors opened and 4 uniformed officers stepped into the storm. The lead officer, broad-shouldered with a permanent sneer etched onto his face, surveyed the street before his eyes landed on Elijah. Something flickered across his expression, satisfaction. Well. Officer Travis Boone sauntered toward him. What do we have here? This ain't a hotel, old-timer. Elijah remained still, his gaze unfocused, seemingly lost in thought. Boone's hand dropped to the baton at his belt, fingers drumming against the handle. I'm talking to you. Boone's voice hardened. You deaf or just stupid? Elijah finally looked up. Neither, sir. His voice was quiet, but precise. There was no fear in it, no anger, just a simple statement of fact. Boone's eyebrows lifted, and he exchanged glances with his squad. One of them, a younger officer, shifted uneasily but said nothing. Oh, we got ourselves a smart one, Boone chuckled. You hear that, Reynolds? He called me sir. He turned back to Elijah. What's in the bag? Booze, drugs, personal items. Elijah's voice was even, his eyes locking onto Boone's. Nothing illegal. Boone frowned, something in that gaze unsettling him. It was too alert, too calculating. Not the eyes of a man broken by the streets. But the moment passed, and he sneered again. Let's see about that. Without warning, he kicked the weathered duffel bag beside Elijah, sending it skidding across the wet sidewalk. The contents spilled out, a worn toothbrush, a battered paperback, a change of clothes, and a small metal box that clattered against the pavement. Elijah's jaw tensed. What's so special about this? Boone stooped, picking up the metal box and flipping it open. Inside were a set of dog tags and a faded photograph. Boone let out a mock whistle. Military, huh? What are you now? Just another bum who couldn't hack it in civilian life. For a brief moment, something cold and deadly flickered in Elijah's eyes. Officer Reynolds took a step back, sensing it even if he didn't fully understand it. You should put those back. Boone laughed, letting the dog tags drop into a puddle. Or what, old man? You gonna fight the whole police department? Reynolds cleared his throat. Sarge, maybe we should. Shut it, rookie. Boone snapped. This sidewalk needs to be cleared. Public safety hazard, you understand. With a casual sweep of his boot, Boone sent the rest of Elijah's belongings tumbling into the gutter, the rain immediately carrying them toward the drain. His squad chuckled, but Reynolds remained silent, watching Elijah with growing unease. Elijah didn't move to retrieve his things. He simply stood there, rain soaking through his jacket, his eyes never leaving Boone's face. There was something in that stillness that should have warned them. The coiled tension of a predator deciding whether to strike. "You deaf again?" Boone prodded Elijah's chest with his baton. "I said move along. I'm not bothering anyone. You're bothering me." Boone jabbed harder, expecting fear, anger, anything to justify escalation. Instead, Elijah simply looked at him, those dark eyes revealing nothing and everything all at once. And for the first time, Boone hesitated. But with an audience of officers around him, pride shoved him forward. "That's it." He grabbed Elijah's arm. "You're coming in for disturbing the peace." What happened next was so quick that later, when Reynolds tried to describe it in his report, he couldn't quite capture it. One moment, Boone had his hand on Elijah's arm. The next, he was stumbling backward, off balance, though Elijah hadn't seemed to move at all. "Don't touch me." The words were spoken softly, but they carried the weight of an absolute command. Anger and embarrassment flooded Boone's face. "Take him down." The other officers rushed forward. And this time, Elijah didn't resist. Perhaps he realized the futility of it. Or perhaps he had already made a different calculation. For armed men against one, with more only a radio call away, those weren't odds even he would take. Not yet. They dragged him to the wet pavement, wrenched his arms behind his back, kicked his legs out from under him. Elijah went down hard, face scraping against the concrete. Blood mixed with rainwater, running in pink rivulets toward the gutter. Through it all, Elijah never made a sound. No grunt of pain, no plea for mercy, just a deep, measured inhale. And as the cuffs tightened around his wrists, as Officer Boone sneered above him, Elijah Carter counted. 1, 2, 3. A storm had been unleashed, and the city would never be the same again.